Hi, I'm Val Hoyle, Congresswoman from Oregon's 4th Congressional District. And on today's episode of Cooking with Val, we're going to talk about the iconic bottle bill, started in Oregon. So the first person I'm going to introduce you to is Jules Bailey, the former CEO of the Oregon Beverage Recycling Cooperative, to talk about Oregon was the first state in the nation to have the bottle bill.
Hey, thanks, Val. It's really great to be with you here today, and I'm really excited not only to talk about the bottle bill, but even more so to talk about some really delicious ham that we're going to talk about later, and a recipe for that includes lemon lime soda. So, you know, what are you going to do with your can afterwards but return it for a refund, right?
Exactly.
So Oregon, as you said, exactly, first state in the nation, 1971 with the bottle bill. And at that time, it was a nickel. I think probably your constituents know that it's now a dime. And I'm betting that your constituents know because almost everybody in Oregon participates, right? I mean, we have close to a 90% redemption rate. It means 90% of all the containers that are sold get returned back. And they're able to do it because it's easy, it's convenient, and they get 10 cents back. It's, you know, who doesn't like that?
We also recycle all of our cans and keep them aside, and then, you know, can use that money for buying other things. With that, we want to talk to some other people from around the country. Maya Corbett from Texans for Clean Water. Maya, why don't you tell us about the work that you're doing?
Happy to, and happy to be here. Thanks for the invitation. And Texas, unfortunately, doesn't have a bottle bill or a recycling refund, and we are the trashiest state in the nation. That's what the data shows per centerline mile of highway. We also have the dirtiest beaches of all 5 Gulf states. Neither one of those things we're very proud of. And in fact, I brought some dirty pictures for you in the audience. Before we get into the recipe, so we don't spoil anybody's appetites, I want to show a few. Why am I here? Why do we need a bottle bill? This is my first dirty picture. This is we're going to need a bigger boat picture. And this is not uncommon in Texas. This is a bayou system. A bayou is essentially a man-made water system that drains the streets of Houston here. And this is not an uncommon sight. And I don't know how close you can get, but most of these are bottles and cans that are readily recyclable. I'll also say that here's another dirty picture. This is Dock 8 at the Port of Houston. And the Port of Houston is a $3.5 billion per year industry driver in Texas and nationally. And they actually had to move the whole fireboat station because the fireboat sucked up so much plastic trash that it was out of commission for weeks. And that's a critical infrastructure problem. And where does it come from? Well, it comes from storm drains. And storm drains are what drains the streets. And we get a lot of rain in Texas, and we need to move that water efficiently into our water systems. And when it gets clogged, like this picture, which is again not uncommon, my board member actually took all these pictures personally. That is what gets into our waterways, and we wouldn't have this if it was 5 cents, 10 cents. We don't pick up loose change. We pick up a lot of bottles and cans. So I'm very happy to be here. And thank you, Oregon, for leading the way.
And I think one of the most important things to acknowledge is that this is not a partisan issue. Our governor, Tom McCall, who championed the bottle bill in Oregon, was a Republican. And Mark Hatfield, our senator, who introduced the first national bill to have the bottle bill across the country. It didn't pass, but he was also a Republican. This is about having cleaner waterways, and again, that is not a partisan issue. And with that, I would like to introduce Susan Collins from the Container Recycling Institute.
Thank you very much for doing this. Thank you very much for having me here today. We at the Container Recycling Institute work on this issue on a state-by-state basis and also nationally, which is why we're here in DC this week. You just talked about Oregon having the program, Texas not having the program. So there are now 10 states in the US that do have container deposit programs, but that means the other 40 don't. These programs are so successful that I call them the rock stars of recycling. I had already been working in recycling for 20 years before I started working on this issue, and I chose to work on this issue because it's such a powerful driver of high recycling rates. There's nothing else, no other type of program that I could advocate for somebody to start, and within 2 years you have an 80% recycling rate. But you can totally do that with a container deposit law, and in fact there are now 70 different laws that have been passed in jurisdictions around the world. And the average recycling rate for those programs is indeed a little over 80%. We can't say that about any other type of recycling program that we operate. So they're super, super powerful programs, but they don't exist in enough states. Right now, about half of all of the beverage containers that are recovered in the United States come from those 10 bottle bill states.
Wow.
So it's a total of 19 million tons that are generated nationally, and we'd like to have as much of that 19 million tons on deposit as possible so that we can be getting it back into our economy. If we did that, we would be recovering $2 billion worth of materials that we are currently throwing into landfills.
Wow. As someone that represents 250 miles of ocean and many more miles of streams and rivers, I can tell you that we are grateful that Oregon had the foresight to put forward a bottle bill because we have better fishing, we have clean water, we are able to have, again, these bottles and cans recycled. Now, when you use a bottle and you can recycle it, you can get money back. And one of the ways that you could use, say, a bottle of lemon lime soda is with glazed ham. So Jules Bailey is going to share his recipe for glazed ham.
Well, this is an important recipe to be able to share and tell people how to be able to recycle their containers, because if we're successful and there is a national bottle deposit return program, then everybody in the nation will be able to use this. We hope that's true. The other thing that's nonpartisan, by the way, is ham. It's wonderful, and it's except for the vegetarians out there, sorry, but this is a good recipe. So you essentially take a can of lemon lime soda, you pour it over the ham. This is my grandmother's trick, and then you bake it for the first 30 minutes with a little bit of foil over it. You take the foil off, and then you baste it with a mixture of brown sugar, pineapple preserves, and a little bit of pineapple juice. And you get that kind of coating on there. You cook it with the foil a little bit more. You take the foil off to finish it. And then if you're like me, I like to mix in a little bit of spicy brown mustard. And here's the kicker, about a tablespoon of bourbon in there. Ooh. Cook the last of the glaze over that ham. Then you stud it with some pineapple rings and a little bit of maraschino cherries. Everybody's gonna love it.
That sounds amazing. And if you're in one of the 10 states with a bottle bill, you'll actually get money back after using that lemon lime soda.
That's right.
So with that, thank you so much for the work that you're doing. We are proud Oregonians, and we would like to do whatever we can to make sure that we have 40 more states that are participating in this great public policy so we can have cleaner rivers and waterways. Thanks so much.
Thanks,
Thank
Congressman.
you.